Welcome to God Chosen Cosmic Melodies. So we're going to jump right into reading this book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. So I'm going to jump right into the middle of a chapter because I feel called to read this part. It's called Unhappiness. So we're going to jump right in. Not all unhappiness is of the pain body. Some of it is new unhappiness, created whenever you are out of alignment with the present moment. When the now is denied in one way or another, when you recognize, when we deny that ourselves from being in the present moment, we cause ourselves unhappiness. And so unhappiness can come from trauma that's stuck in our pain body, or it can come from not being present in the now moment. So when you recognize that the present moment is always already the case, oh, I thought I read it wrong. So I read it. Okay, so, and therefore inevitable, you can bring an uncompromising inner yes to it. And so not only create no further unhappiness, but with inner resistance gone, find yourself empowered by life itself, by being present. Even if there's nothing exciting happening, you can, when you're present, you can just be happy for the breath of life. And so the pain body's unhappiness is always clearly out of proportion to the apparent cause. In other words, it is a overreaction. This is how it is recognized, although not usually by the sufferer, the person possessed by that unhappiness. Someone with a heavy pain body easily finds reasons for being upset, angry, hurt, sad, or fearful. Relatively insignificant things that someone else would shrug off with a smile or not even notice become the apparent cause of intense unhappiness. They are, of course, not the true cause, but only act as a trigger. They bring back to life the old accumulated emotion. The emotion then moves into the head and amplifies and energizes the egoic mind structures. Pain body and ego are closely relatives. They need each other. The triggering event or situation is then interpreted and reacted through the screen of a heavy emotional ego. This is to say, its significance becomes completely distorted. You look at the present through the eyes of the emotional past within you. In other words, what you see and experience is not in the event or situation, but in you. Or in some cases, it may be there in the event or situation, but you amplify it through your reaction. This amplification is what the pain body wants and needs. It's what it feeds on. So sometimes the ego will purposely take you back to those low vibrational thoughts and feelings because it's stuck in you. So it's old programming that you fall back into. So for someone possessed by a heavy pain body, it is often impossible to step outside his or her distorted interpretations, the heavy emotional story that they tell themselves and they carry with themselves. The more negative emotion there is in a story, the heavier and more impenetrable it becomes. And so the story is not recognized as such, but it is taken to be reality. When you are completely trapped in the movement of thought and the accompanying emotion, stepping outside is not possible because you don't even know that there is an outside. You're trapped in your own movie or dream or perception, trapped in your own version of hell. To you, it is reality, and no other reality is possible. And as far as you are concerned, your reaction is the only possible reaction because you're operating out of that old programming in your pain body. So breaking identification with the pain body. This is really vital for the times we're living in today for us to know this and have this awareness and shine the light of awareness on ourselves to alchemize these things inside of ourselves. Things you cannot see, but they control your life if you don't confront it inside of yourself. So breaking identification with the pain body. A person with a strong, active pain body has a particular energy emanating that other people perceive as extremely unpleasant. When they meet such a person, some people will immediately want to remove themselves or reduce in interaction with him or her to a minimum. They feel repulsed by a person's energy field. Others will feel a wave of aggression towards this person, and they will be rude or attack him or her verbally, or in some cases, even physically. This means there is something within them that resonates with the other person's pain body. What they react to so strongly is also in them. It is their own pain body. Not surprisingly, people with heavy and frequently active pain bodies often find themselves in conflict situations. Sometimes, of course, they actively provoke them, but at other times, they may not actually do anything. The negativity they emit is enough to attract hostility and generate conflict. It requires a high degree of presence to avoid reacting when confronted with someone with such an active pain body. If you are able to stay present, it sometimes happens that your presence enables the other person to identify from his or her own pain body and thus experience the miracle of a sudden awakening. Although the awakening may be short-lived, the awakening process will have become initiated. Because when you don't react to people acting out in their pain body and you just choose to be present with it, it causes that opening of awakening of hopefully in hopes that they realize like, oh, they question themselves, why are they reacting like that when the other person is just present there, like not responding in the same way. So one second. We need more people not need, but it would be beneficial to us in humanity that we had more people conscious of their pain body and healing this part of themselves. So one of the first such awakenings that I witnessed happened many years ago. My doorbell rang close to 11 o'clock at night. My neighbor Ethel's anxiety-laden voice came through the intercom. We need to talk. This is very important. Please let me in. Ethel was middle-aged, intelligent, and highly educated. She also had a strong ego and a heavy pain body. She escaped from the Nazi Germany when she was an adolescent, and many of her family members perished in the concentration camps. Ethel sat down on the sofa, agitated, her hands trembling. She took letters and documents out of the file she carried with her and spread them out all over the sofa and floor. And once I had the strange sensation as if a dimmer switch had turned the inside of my entire body to maximum power. There was nothing to do other than remain open, alert, intensely present with every cell of the body. I looked at her with no thought and no judgment, and listened in stillness without any mental commentary. A torrent of words came out of her mouth. They sent me another disturbing letter today. They are conducting a vendetta against me. You must help. We need to fight them together. Their crooked lawyers will stop at nothing. I will lose my home. They are threatening me with dispossession. It transpired that she refused to pay the service charge because the property manager had failed to carry out some repairs. They, in turn, threatened to take her to court. She talked to her for 10 minutes or so. I sat and looked and listened. Suddenly, she stopped talking, looked at the papers all around her as if she had just woken up from a dream. She became calm and gentle. Her entire energy field changed. Then she looked at me and said, "This isn't important at all, is it?" "No, it isn't," I said. She sat quietly for a couple of more minutes, then picked up her papers and left. The next morning, she stopped me in the streets, looking at somewhat suspicious. "What did you do to me? Last night was the first night in years that I slept well. In fact, I slept like a baby." She believed I had done something to her, but I had done nothing. Instead of asking what I had done to her, perhaps she should have asked what I had not done. I had not reacted, not confirmed the reality of her story, not fed her mind with more thoughts and her pain body with more emotion. I had allowed her to experience whatever she was experiencing at the moment, and the power of allowing lies in non-interference, non-doing, being present, is always infinitely more powerful than anything one could say or do. Although sometimes being present can give rise to words or actions, what happened to her was not yet a permanent shift, but a glimpse of what is possible, a glimpse of what was already within her in Zen. Such a glimpse is called Satori. Satori is a moment of presence, a brief stepping out of the voice in your head, the thought process, and their reflection in the body as emotion. It is the arising of inner spaciousness, where before there was the clutter of thoughts and the turmoil of emotion. The thinking mind cannot understand presence, and so it will often misinterpret it. It will say that you are uncaring, distant, have no compassion, or not relating. The truth is you are relating, but at a level deeper than thought and emotion. In fact, at that level there is a true coming together, a true joining that goes far beyond relating. In the stillness of presence, you can sense that formless essence in yourself and in the other as one. The presence, I'm going to read that part again. In the stillness of presence, you can sense the formless essence in yourself and in the other as one. Remember, don't be the person, be the presence. And knowing the oneness of yourself and the other is true love, true care, and true compassion for what another person could be going through. So now, that is just so beautiful. Sometimes we're not always able to be that for somebody, like present for somebody. It depends on their level of toxicity. But if you are able to hold that presence for somebody, it can be helpful to their healing process. So the triggers, some pain bodies react to only one particular kind of trigger or situation, which is usually one that resonates with a certain kind of emotional pain suffered in the past. For example, if a child grows up with a parent for whom financial issues are the source of frequent drama and conflict, he or she may absorb the parent's fear around money and develop a pain body that is triggered whenever financial issues are involved. The child, as adult, gets upset or angry, even over insignificant amount of money, behind the upset or anger lies issues of survival and intense fear. I have seen spiritual, that is to say, relatively conscious people who start to shout, blame, and make accusations the moment they picked up the phone to talk to their stockbroker or realtor. Just as there is a health warning on every package of cigarettes, perhaps there should be similar warnings on every banknote and bank statement. Money can activate the pain body and cause complete unconsciousness. Someone who in childhood was neglected or abandoned by one or both parents will likely develop a pain body that becomes triggered in any situation that resonates even remotely with their primordial pain of abandonment. A friend arriving a few minutes late or pick them up at the airport, or a spouse coming home late can trigger a major pain body attack. If their parent or spouse leaves them or dies, the emotional pain they experience goes far beyond the pain that is natural in such a situation. It may be intense anguish, long-lasting, incapacitating depression, or obsessive anger. So if we find ourselves displaying these kind of reactions, we should shine the light of awareness on ourselves and remember that our reactions are not proportionate to the situation at hand. A lot of the times it's your pain body being triggered from something in the past that was unhealed that's causing you to react out of proportion. And so it's giving examples, and like, this is really important for us to know about ourselves so that we don't fall into acting out from that pain body frequency, and then we don't like perpetuate the cycle of pain and like basically re-causing ourselves the pain over and over again, because we're not shining our light of awareness and being present with those moments and stopping ourselves from falling into that cycle. So I'm going to keep reading. A woman who in childhood was physically abused by her father may find that her pain body becomes easily activated in any close relationships with a man. Alternatively, the emotion that makes up her pain body may draw her to a man whose pain body is similar to that of her father. Her pain body may feel a magnet pull to someone who is who its senses will give it more of that same pain. Basically, it's seeking more of that same pain in order to try to find a resolution. But if people don't shine the light of awareness to those moments, then they'll just fall into the same hamster wheel and cause the pain over and over again. But when we shine the light of awareness and be present with those moments, we break ourselves out of that cycle. So that pain is sometimes misinterpreted as falling in love. This is why it's so important to heal before you can have truly a more healthier relationship. And even if you're in a relationship already, you can use those moments to find healing instead of causing yourself more pain and then causing a disconnection. So anyways, a man who had been an unwanted child, was given no love and minimal of care and attention by his mother, developed a heavy, ambivalent pain body that consisted of unfulfilled, intense longing for his mother's love and attention, and at the same time, intense hatred towards her for withholding what he so desperately needed. When he became an adult, almost every woman would trigger his pain body's neediness in a form of emotional pain, and this would manifest as an addictive compulsion to conquer and seduce almost every woman he met, and in this way get the female love and attention that the pain body craved. He became quite an expert on seduction, but as soon as a relationship turned intimate or his advances were rejected, the pain body's anger towards his mother would come up and sabotage the relationship. When you recognize your own pain body as it arises, you will also quickly learn what the most common triggers are that activate it for you. Whether it be situations or certain things other people do or say, when those triggers occur, you will immediately see them for what they are and enter a heightened state of alertness. Within a second or two, you will also notice the emotional reaction that is arising pain body, but in the state of alert presence, you won't identify with it anymore, which means the pain body cannot take you over and become the voice in your head. If you are with your partner at the time, you may tell him or her, what you said or did triggered my pain body. And when you call that out and you have open communication, what you said or did triggered my pain body, it's less likely that you will fall into a fight or be in causing disconnection because of that trigger in your pain body. So saying, you triggered my pain body, have an agreement with your partner that whenever either of you say or does something that triggers the other person's pain body, you will immediately mention it. In this way, the pain body can no longer renew itself through drama in the relationship, and instead of pulling you into unconsciousness, it will help you become fully present instead. Every time you are present with the pain body, when the pain body arises, some of the pain body's negative emotional energy will burn out, as it were, and become transmuted into presence. Because remember, when you're present is where you find happiness. So the more we can be present with the pain body and transmute it, not react out of that pain body, transmute that energy by being present with it and not reacting unconsciously, the rest of the pain body will quickly withdraw and wait for a better opportunity to arise again. So it will go away, but it will also still come up. Again, it's a matter of practicing it over and over again. So that is to say, when you are less conscious. So anytime we fall into being unconscious with our behavior, that's when it will try to come up again. But when it comes up again, is another opportunity to be present with it, to the point where we can master that part of ourselves. Instead of acting out unconsciously, we pause and we sit with the trigger and be present with it so we can transmute it. A better opportunity for the pain body to arise may come whenever you lose presence. Perhaps after you have had a few drinks or while watching a violent film, the tiniest negative emotions, such as being irritated or anxious, can also serve as a doorway through which the pain body can return. The pain body needs your unconsciousness. It cannot tolerate the light of presence. So that's the key. The pain body only acts out when you're being unconscious about your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. That's when it will act out. You will act out when you're living unconsciously. But when you live in the light of presence and shining awareness on yourself and being present with your triggers, that pain body can't ruin your life and cause you to fall into the cycle of causing yourself more pain internally, because you choose the light of presence. And that pain body, it cannot tolerate the light of presence. It's basically like shining your light, your higher self light, the light of truth inside of you, the light of presence on your shadow side, on your traumas, on your triggers. The more we do that, the better off we're going to be. So the pain body as an awakener, because when we do this is a part of the awakening process. Awakening up more to our higher self, becoming more conscious of our unconscious parts. So at first sight, it may seem that the pain body is the greatest obstacle to the arising of a new consciousness in humanity. Okay, one second. I feel like this is so important for humanity during the times we're living in today. And just in general, I feel like this is timeless wisdom. Because everybody's at different stages and phases of their healing process, healing traumas and triggers. And so this information goes throughout the generations, no matter what generation it is. It can and will always be helpful awareness. So I'll read that top part again. At first sight, it may seem that the pain body is the greatest obstacle to the arising of a new consciousness in humanity. It occupies your mind, controls and distorts your thinking. It disrupts your relationships, and it feels like a dark cloud that occupies your entire energy field. It tends to make you unconscious, spiritually speaking, which means, so when people act out in triggers, they're basically choosing to be living unconsciously, like about their traumas and their triggers. And so that's an easy fix. We just have to shine the light of awareness and the light of presence onto ourselves. And so it tends to make you unconscious, spiritually speaking, which means totally identifying with the mind and the emotion. But remember, we are not our mind, our thoughts, or our emotions. We are the presence behind it. We are the master behind our thoughts and our emotions. And so it makes you reactive when you are just living out of your thoughts and your emotions and your triggers and your traumas. It makes you reactive. It makes you say and do things that are designed to increase the unhappiness within yourself and the world. As unhappiness increases, however, it also causes increasing disruption in your life. Perhaps the body can't take the stress anymore and develops an illness or some dysfunction. Perhaps you become involved in an accident, some huge conflict situation or drama that was caused by the pain body's desire for something bad to happen, or you become the perpetrator of physical violence. You become a cruel person, an evil person, a low vibrational person, because you're not confronting these parts of yourself. And so, or it all becomes too much and you cannot live with your unhappy self anymore. The pain body, of course, is part of that false self, because we are not our pain. But it is our responsibility to confront ourselves and heal that part of ourselves. And so whenever you get taken over by the pain body, whenever you don't recognize it for what it is, it becomes a part of your ego. Whatever you identify with turns into ego. The pain body is one of the most powerful things that the ego can identify with, just as the pain body needs the ego to renew itself through it. So, the unholy alliance, however, eventually breaks down in those cases where the pain body is so heavy that the egoic mind structures, instead of being strengthened by it, are becoming eroded by the continuous onslaught of the pain body's energy charge. Basically, a person will destroy themselves from inside when they don't confront these parts of themselves and their pain body and their ego, because their pain body and their ego go hand in hand. If they don't confront their pain body, their ego acts out from that place. And so instead of because if we confront these parts of ourselves, we'll have a healthy ego. and you'll strengthen your ego to be coming from a healthy place. And so in the same way that an electronic device can be empowered by an electronic current, but also destroyed by it if the voltage is too high. People with strong pain bodies often reach a point where they feel their life is becoming unbearable, where they cannot take any more pain, any more drama. One person expressed this by saying plainly and simply that she was fed up with being unhappy. Some people may feel as I did that they cannot live with themselves anymore. Their inner peace then becomes their first priority. They're acute. Sorry, one second. I almost misread that word. Their acute emotional pain forces them to disidentify from the content of their minds and the mental emotional structures that give birth to and perpetuate the unhappy me. They then know that neither their unhappy story nor their emotion they feel is who they are. They realize that they are the knowing, not the known. Rather than pulling them into unconsciousness, the pain body becomes their awakener, the decisive factor that forces them into a state of presence. So eventually it comes to a point when the feeling of being unhappy is so unbearable that hopes that the person will want to confront that part of themselves, so that they can choose decisively and force themselves to be in a state of presence with those moments. And however, due to the unprecedented influx of consciousness we are witnessing on the planet now, many people no longer need to go through the depths of acute suffering to be able to disidentify from the pain body. You don't need to go through more suffering to realize that it's important to do this work and to disidentify with that pain body. Whenever they notice they have slipped back into a dysfunctional state, they are able to choose to step out of identification with thinking and emotion and enter the state of presence. They relinquish resistance, become still and alert, one with what is within and without. The next step in human evolution is not inevitable, but for the first time in history of our planet, it can be a conscious choice. Who is making the choice? Ask yourself, who is making the choice? Are you making the choice from your pain body, or are you making choices from a healed place in yourself, the light of presence? And you are, and who you are. You have to ask yourself, who is making that choice? You are, or who are you? Consciousness that has become conscious of itself, breaking free of the pain body. A question people frequently ask is, how long does it take to become free of the pain body? The answer is, of course, that it depends both on the density of the individual's pain body as well as the degree or intensity of that individual's arising presence. But it is not the pain body, but identification with it that causes the suffering that you inflict on yourself and others. It is not the pain body, but identification with the pain body that forces you to relive the past again and again and keep you in a state of unconsciousness. So a more important question to ask would be this: how long does it take to become free of identification with the pain body? And the answer to that question is, it takes no time at all. When the pain body is activated, know that what you are feeling in the pain body in you, bring presence to that and know that you are not that pain body. You are the presence behind it. This knowing is all that is needed to break your identification with it. And when identification with it ceases, the transmutation begins. So you don't identify with your traumas and your triggers and your unconsciousness and your pain body ego. You no longer identify with it, so you can transmute it. That's the start of transmutation, when you stop identifying with that part of yourself. The knowing prevents the old emotion from arising up into your head. One second. Prevents the old emotion from arising up into your head and taking over not only the inner dialogue, but also your actions as well as interactions with other people. This means the pain body cannot use you anymore and renew itself through you, which is like basically our lower self and spirit attachments. I feel like those go hand in hand. When you choose to not act out from spiritual attachments or traumas or triggers, you no longer feed into that pain body. And this means the pain body cannot use you anymore and renew itself through you. The old emotion may then still live in you for a while and come up periodically. It may also still occasionally trick you into identifying with it again and thus obscure the knowing, but not for long. Not projecting the old emotion into situations means facing it directly within yourself. So instead of projecting your traumas, your triggers, and your pain body outwardly, you face it directly within yourself. It may not be pleasant, but it won't kill you. Your presence is more than capable of containing it. The emotion is not who you are. The traumas is not who you are. The triggers is not who you are. Your pain body is not who you are. And so when you feel the pain body, don't fall into the error of thinking there's something wrong with you, making yourself into a problem. The ego loves that. The knowing needs to be followed by acceptance. Anything else will obscure it again. Accepting means you allow yourself to feel whatever it is you are feeling at the moment within yourself, but don't act out in that emotion, but be present with the emotion. Accept the emotion in yourself. Shine the light of awareness on it and remind yourself you are not your trigger, you are not your trauma, you are not your pain body. Acceptance means you allow yourself to feel whatever it is you are feeling at the moment. It is a part of the isness of the now. You cannot argue with what is. Well, it can, but you do. When you do, you suffer. When you identify with it, with the trigger, with the trauma response, then you cause yourself to suffer. And that's so unnecessary. It's unnecessary suffering. Through allowing you become what you are, vast spaciousness. You become whole. The truth of who you are in your soul is wholeness. It's not a fragmented pain body. Fragmented, sorry, I said that wrong. It's not a fragmented pain body. You're not a fragmented pain body. You're not your triggers. You're not your traumas. You are wholeness. And when you hold space for yourself, you tune into that wholeness. You cannot fragment anymore, which is how the ego perceives itself. Your true nature emerges, which is one with the nature of God. Jesus points to this when he says, "Be ye whole, even as your Father in heaven is whole." The New Testament, "be ye perfect," is a mistranslation of the original Greek word, which means whole. This is to say, you don't need to become whole, but be what you already are, with or without the pain body. So that's where it ends. And that was just so beautiful. I feel like that part, I was pulled to come on and I just opened to that part of the book. And my soul just knows that this awareness can be so helpful for every single one of us and whatever we may be facing and encountering in our life journeys, in our soul journeys, with everything unfolding in humanity and whatever we have going on in our lives. If we can practice this as much as possible, anytime we feel triggered, we feel traumas, we feel unhappy, we bring ourselves back to the present moment, we hold space for ourselves, we shine the light of awareness for ourselves, we transmute our pain, we stop identifying with our traumas, our pain body and our triggers, and instead pause in the moment at any time those things come up and choose to transmute it back into the wholeness of our soul, the wholeness of God, and the light of presence with God source energy, the oneness and the wholeness of the light of presence with our Heavenly Father, Mother, however you want to put it, God source energy, God Almighty, Alpha and Omega, Godhead of all that is. This is really important for us to do this inner alchemy in times of trigger, trauma, sorrow, confusion, and bring ourselves back into the present moment as much as possible, because nobody's going to do it for us. We have to constantly put this into practice to the point where we become more masterful at it, because, we'll get good at it. And then sometimes things happen and then we just have to use those moments to put this into practice, and for ourselves and for each other. And like the book said, is that it's in humanity, it's more than realistic for all of us to practice this. In humanity, there's no need for us to be falling back into trauma, triggers, and pain, because that's not progressive, and it's just going to cause more pain if we don't stop the cycle of dysfunction, of falling back into those traumas, triggers, and the pain body of the egoic mind that wants to keep itself fragmented from the wholeness that we really are in our soul. The human experience comes along with the ego, and the ego tends to fall into a state of separation, which causes suffering, which causes pain. But when we can integrate our ego into the wholeness of our soul, of the oneness of God's source energy, of all that is oneness, and the light of presence, this is where the healing is, time and time and time and time again. No matter how many times you need to get to the bottom of it within yourself with this tool, with this inner alchemy, the better off we're going to be. And then we can experience a more happiness in life, even through whatever unhappy things come up from the past or from the current times, because it's inevitable. It's the polarity in the 3D realm. But the more we do this inner alchemy, we can rise in frequency, we can rise in the wholeness of our soul, which is the ultimate truth of who we really are. So I'll leave this one here. Remember to pray for your goals, your possessions, your pets, your family, your friends, humanity, and the planet at large, because as I say in my videos, it really does make a difference. And it infuses the God frequency into the quantum field. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell for upcoming videos and like the video, because it helps the algorithm push this video out to many, many more people, so that they can feel empowered and enlightened and uplifted by the content in my videos. So I'll leave this one here, and I'll talk to you in my next video.